On today's episode of the Locked On NHL podcast, the Dallas Stars squared off against two Central Division rivals over the weekend, and they got 1 point.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of the Locked On NHL podcast, your daily NHL podcast. We are your team each and every day, and we thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day as well. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. On today's episode of Locked On NHL, we'll take a look at the Dallas Stars, the new-look Stars, who took on the Winnipeg Jets and the Colorado Avalanche in a couple of big games over the weekend. How did they fare? We'll discuss. We'll also take a look at the Los Angeles Kings, who continue to fly under the radar despite continuing to put themselves in good position in the Western Conference playoffs. And the Carolina Hurricanes, they are on fire. We'll talk about the Hurricanes and how they were able to do their best in the post-Mikko Rantanen world. We'll talk about what has gone well for the Hurricanes here so far over the last couple of weeks. My name is Seth Toupal, host of Locked On Wild, joined by JD Young of Locked On Sharks. And JD, we're starting out west. A couple of big Central Division collisions for the Dallas Stars as they took on the Winnipeg Jets and they took on the Colorado Avalanche as well. And I'm just going to say right off the bat, because I watched a good amount of the game against the Colorado Avalanche, was calling some D1 hockey for the game against Winnipeg, so I didn't get a chance to.
Oh, look at you, humble brag over here, mister.
Yeah, ho hum Saturday night for me, so I didn't get a chance to watch that game. But great back and forth between the Stars and the Avalanche, although Colorado had them pinned up for a minute in that game. Like, they had them bottled up, and the Stars able to furious comeback to send it into overtime, but then the Avalanche end up getting the win. The Stars also lose against the Winnipeg Jets 4-1. So considering this weekend, if you're a Stars fan or somebody that follows the Dallas Stars, where's your head at after going toe-to-toe against the Jets and the Avs and coming away with 1 point?
I like, if you play the game like big deal, little deal, no deal, I'm in the little deal camp with this, because I get, right, it's, you would like to see, you went out, you made all these moves. Of course, you get Mikko Rantanen, you sign him to a long-term extension. Of course, you want to see those kind of start to pay dividends right away. But one, the Central Division is an absolute bloodbath, and it's going to be an absolute bloodbath in the playoffs. Two, like, let's let this team get under its feet under it a little bit here, especially with Mikko Rantanen coming over. So while it's disappointing, I think Dallas is going to be okay, right? And if you look at Dallas' schedule coming up here, they play the Ducks, you play the Lightning, who have been good, you play the Flyers, you play Minnesota, which is Minnesota right now. You have Edmonton, then you have like Calgary, Seattle, Nashville. Like, you have plenty of games here where I think they're going to be able to kind of hit their stride, right? And you want to win games in mid-April and May. And yes, winning games in mid-March would be nice, but I think for this team, they want to start kind of ramping up now. And maybe these are kind of measuring 6 games where like, this is what we need to be at come mid-April.
And if you look at it too, like, just take a look at what Jake Ottinger faced in these games. And in the game against the Winnipeg Jets, only faced 22 shots. So the Stars did a good job of limiting the Jets in terms of their chances and their opportunities. And so you can look at that and say, well, Ottinger maybe just didn't have his best stuff. I know early on in the game, I was seeing some reaction from Joey Erickson in that, should be pretty fortunate that this game is where it is because of Jake Ottinger. So that's one where, the team got bottled up a little bit offensively and you just move on. And in the same instance, like they just got completely suffocated by the Avalanche in the early goings of that game. Now they were able to complete the comeback at the end to get it to OT. So I'm encouraged by the fight back. And it's one of those that you just have to try to iron things out. And at some point, like you said, you just kind of have to tip your cap. The Colorado Avalanche are playing incredibly well right now. They are just rolling. They're kind of getting their bottom six shored up and getting their roster ironed out. They've been on an absolute heater. And for the Stars, up until this past weekend, I mean, they had won 5 out of 6. So they still they're still doing what they need to do. And those were no slouch games. I mean, they beat the Kings, they beat the Blues, who are red hot and back in the playoff picture. Narrowly lost to the Oilers. So they're still putting competitive games out there against top teams in either conference. It just so happens that 2 games over the weekend didn't quite go their way. And now they get to extract all of their frustration tonight against the Ducks.
Yeah, Ducks team who have been playing better, but it looks like the wheels might be starting to kind of come off for this Ducks team right now. And like I said, the schedule upcoming for Dallas, I think is going to be a really nice kind of soft landing zone for them to kind of work some things out, maybe tinker with some lines, try to, make sure you're getting the right chemistry, maybe give Ottinger a break here and there before you kind of get him ready for the playoffs. So yeah, I do think the soft schedule will really help. So, and listening to 32 Thoughts, they made a good point about like when you're Dallas now, right? Everybody's talking about, oh, how great is Dallas, et cetera, et cetera. Like, teams are going to find that extra gear to play you right now. And I think especially for Colorado and for Winnipeg, right? Winnipeg wants to still remind everybody, hey, we're Winnipeg. There's a reason why we're the number 1 team in the NHL right now. We've just been, smashing teams all season. And Colorado wants a nice reminder of like, look at what we've done so far this season, right? We've completely revamped this team. And we might be getting Landeskog back here at some point. Like, we just want to just kind of put that in the back of your head, Dallas, that like this first round matchup that we're expecting between Dallas and Colorado, like this is going to be a slugfest, and these 2 teams are going to go toe to toe, hopefully for all 7 games, because we as hockey fans, I think we need all 7 games. So.
And you have Mikko Rantanen pouring gasoline on the fire by saying, well, I wanted to stay in Colorado. I was willing to stay for less. And then Colorado just up and traded me. Like that's a little incendiary, I would say. But the other part of this too, Dallas currently has
Is it flammable or inflammable? Who knows?
It's burning either way. It's burning either way.
It's already on fire. That bridge is burnt, baby.
Only person that can put that fire out is Cam Fowler. So
yes. Noted fire. Did you know Cam Fowler's first job was actually Smokey the Bear? He was the original Smokey the Bear.
I did not know that. Yes. The Dallas Stars have 2 games in hand on the Avalanche and a 2-point lead as far as the 2 spot goes. So this is going to be a battle all the way through, but I would be shocked if the Stars don't bounce back here tonight, and then all of a sudden, you're back to rolling and cruising and just trying to put yourself in the best possible position you can while the Minnesota Wild fade further and further out of the divisional picture.
Excited to play Vegas in the first round?
Not at all. Not one bit. But hey, wild card is an easier path, I guess.
Vegas has been a little up. Vegas has been known to be a little up and down lately. So, Kaprizov comes back, I'm talking you into it. So, yeah.
No, you're not. We are going to take a look at another team in the Pacific. Feels like they're kind of flying under the radar here a little bit. They've won 5 in a row. and they continue to be one of the best defensive teams in the West. We'll talk about the Kings. Is it time to crown them? By the way, absolutely insane record at home. We'll talk about that too as we continue today's episode of Locked On NHL after this. Today's episode of Locked On NHL is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Posting a job is free and simple. Upwork can find affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork.com, UPWORK.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today.
There's nothing like watching basketball live, the energy of the crowd, the sound of sneakers on the hardwood, and maybe even a celebrity sighting courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. Game Time's new feature, Game Time Picks, filters out the fluff to show you only best deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. I've used Game Time to get tickets to a bunch of different events, including basketball games. So if you want to go see Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler as they roar back in the Western Conference, it's fun to watch Steph Curry do Steph Curry things. And with Game Time, they make it easy. You can see the views of your seat before you even buy. There's nothing worse than getting to an event and realizing my seats stink. No surprise fees and the lowest price guarantee. You can book with total confidence when using Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
Welcome back to today's episode of Locked On NHL. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. As we continue our chat here on this Tuesday edition of Locked On NHL, we're going to talk about the Los Angeles Kings right now, who, ironically enough, they've won 5 in a row after losing 5 in a row.
Perfectly balanced.
It perfectly balanced as all things should be.
Yes.
And that followed a stretch in which they won 5 out of 6. The previous stretch to that, they lost 6 out of 7. I don't know what's going on. They just evidently they are making a roller coaster down there in Los Angeles. But the thing I think that's impressive to me is you look at this Los Angeles Kings team. They have 81. They currently have 81 points. They have played the fewest games of any of the Western Conference playoff teams right now. They're 23-3-4 at home. And they are currently 1 point behind the Edmonton Oilers with 2 games in hand.
And Edmonton has been a little shaky here. But I think you have to look at this surgence. Coincides with one Quinton Byfield. Right, Byfield, we kind of waiting for you to live up to this billing as a second overall pick. And the dude is on an absolute heater right now with 5 goals in the last 5 games here. Byfield, I think, is really kind of starting to step up here. And this was kind of, you're hoping this would be the season he would start to really step up into a bigger role with the Kings. And he's finally doing it. And what better time, right, to start doing it now before you hit the playoffs, where you're probably going to have to play Edmonton for the 50th time in a row in the playoffs, because can we seriously go back to 1 through 8 in the playoffs? But Anyway, Edmonton, like we know their scoring prowess. They've beaten the crap out of the Kings the past couple of years in the playoffs. Like you're gonna need everybody scoring, and I think Byfield getting his confidence right now before you head to the playoffs, it's gonna be huge for them. And like you said, games at home, this team is just a different animal at home. So if you can jump the Oilers and get home ice advantage in the first round with that record and that defense and the way that they can play at home, and Anze Kopitar has been, I know, been playing well this year, and you're starting to kind of get everyone back together here. Like maybe this is the year that they can beat the Oilers in the first round.
Some of these games that they've played recently too. Again, I just want to talk to whoever put the schedules together. I just want to talk to them. I just want to talk to them because the Kings played the St. Louis Blues three times in a 4-game span. I don't.
They lost. They lost 2 out of them.
Yeah, they lost. They lost the first 2. They won the most recent 2-1. Then they beat the Golden Knights 6-5, Islanders 4-1, the Capitals 3-0, the Predators 1-0.
That Caps team that's a good win for them because that Caps team is ridiculous. They beat the brakes off my poor Sharks on Saturday. That Caps team is ridiculous, but I like with the Kings though. It feels like I would like to see some consistency, right? Because like you mentioned earlier, it's very roller coaster-ish. And heading into the playoffs, are you going to get we're going on 5 out of 6 game winning streak here, or are we in the we can't beat the Blackhawks period of our lives? Like that. That's the one thing I do worry about the Kings is can they find some consistency?
Yeah, it for as much as we applaud the wins over like the Capitals, Vegas 6-5 and 5-2. Beating the Stars 5-4, beating the Hurricanes, we're going to talk about here in a little bit, 4-2. You then have the games, as you mentioned, against Chicago, where they lose 5-1.
I watched that game for some reason. Not competitive. Not a competitive game.
Like I go, how about this for a back-to-back stretch? You lose to the Seattle Kraken, and then you lose to the Pittsburgh Penguins 5-1. Like, that's not a great stretch.
Sandwich with a win over the Florida Panthers in there too. Like this team, who knows? They're maybe they're the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde team of the NHL, right? Where one day they're gonna be like, "Wow, this team's amazing," and one day it's like, "What are you? Are you like, this team?" You do wonder too, like when they get into the playoffs. Like just the disparity between like Kemper and Big Save Dave. Like Kemper's got a 919 save percentage. Richie's got an 887 save percentage. Like having Kemper play every game in the playoffs, if he continues to play the same way he's having, probably going to help you win some more games. But it is interesting that they didn't go out to try to maybe find some backup goaltending, especially with the way. And I know they have Portolo, or at least I know they did have Portolo. I'm sure he's still with the Reign, but like, go find a goal. Like, go find somebody. Somebody. Like, if Chicago has like 1,000 goalies, you could have gone and traded for one of those guys or something. It's just maybe shore up so that way if Kemper does go down, your season isn't in the toilet. Because I feel like if Kemper goes down here, the season's in the toilet.
Yeah, because there was a ton of goalie movement at the trade deadline, like an exorbitant amount. I almost said absorbent. That's not a word. Exorbitant amount of goalie movement at the deadline. Like, go grab one of those guys just in the event that you need it. Because if Kemper goes down, you're in a world of hurt. And if you end up in that 3 seed, 13, 17, and 5 on the road, that's not what we like. So we'll see what the Kings have in store as they continue to try to shore up their spot in the Pacific. They currently have an 8-point lead over Vancouver for that 3 spot. So feels pretty feels pretty solid.
They're playing
at
the
least at
Oilers
this
the
point.
first round. It's just whose are they?
Yeah.
Are we start this series in LA or we start this series up in Edmonton?
We'll find out. Well, we're going to talk about another team that is absolutely on a heater right now. The Carolina Hurricanes may never lose again. So we'll take a look at what has been working well for the Hurricanes as we continue today's episode of Locked On NHL after this.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Final segment of today's episode of Locked On NHL. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day. Seth Toupal and JD Young now taking a look at the Carolina Hurricanes, who have won seven games in a row. They are 8-2 in their last 10, and they find themselves 10 points back of the Washington Capitals, which might be a little bit of a tall order considering how the Capitals continue to play. Yeah. But more importantly, you've got a 6-point lead over the Devils with a game in hand to try to stay in that second spot and put your 27-7-1 home record against the Devils' 19-15-2 record on the road.
Ugh. And the Caps, they start a West Coast swing here where they play one of the ultimate hydrogen bomb versus coffee baby matchups of the season. They play the San Jose Sharks on Thursday. So yeah, we could just go ahead and put a nice 8 around right next to the Carolina Hurricanes because I do not see the Sharks being very competitive in that game. But who knows? But yeah, I do think like for a team that has had a very weird season, right? Especially with the Mikko Rantanen stuff. The way that they've navigated this on ice, like as much as you want to talk about the front office, they screwed that up, that whole situation up. They misread it with Rantanen and trying to get him to sign an extension. The product in the ice right now is playing as well as it can, as well as you'd want them to play. So, and I mean, with the Hurricanes, it's always been, well, yeah, they're great in the regular season, but what happens in the playoffs? And I think that question is going to still remain until we get to the playoffs. So, well, like, can you actually, the Corsi Kings themselves, can they actually do something in the playoffs and make an actual run this season?
Yeah, it feels like we've been waiting for this Hurricanes team to go on a deep run for a minute. Like they are always a playoff contender. Like under Rod Brindamore, they have been a team that has been able to get to the postseason pretty much every year. But I just want to look at how the Hurricanes have done post trade deadline, because obviously had to get Mikko Rantanen out of town because he wasn't going to re-up. Although he would have stayed in Colorado, he would have stayed there. Post trade deadline, Carolina Hurricanes are 4-0, and listen to these peripherals. They've outscored their opponents 17-5. So they're averaging 4.2 goals per game. They're giving up just 1.25 per. Power play is not great. 11.8% in that span. Perfect penalty kill, and they're averaging 30 shots per game. They're giving up 24.5. If we expand that out even a little further, let's say middle of February. The Hurricanes in their last 11 games are 8-3. They are outscoring their opponents 33-24. Penalty kill continues to be great, getting a lot of shots on goal, which has been the MO of the Hurricanes pretty much all season. And they're limiting their opponents to under 24 per game. So they got a nice separation in the shots department. And you look at the leaderboard for this team. I mean, Sebastian Aho just continues to plug away, continues to to click forward. Seth Jarvis, he's got 26 goals this season. You're getting some other guys that are stepping in and helping out. And you've gotten Logan Stankoven in and acclimated, and he's got a goal and a couple of points since he was traded over to the Hurricanes. So if you can get the production to step in and make it as seamless of a transition as possible, that's the mark of a good team. And that's exactly what the Hurricanes have done. Because Rantanen, in the 13 games that he played for the Hurricanes, 6 points, 2 goals, 4 assists, and Stankoven is already a third of the way there.
I think, too, another big thing is getting Freddie Anderson in net. And he has been stellar. You always worry, especially with knee injuries and goalies, how they're going to return, but he has been very good for them. He's so far this season, he's 9 wins in 14 games played, 912 save percentage, 215 goals against average, like giving them a like legitimate 1-2 combination in net right now. And that you're not having these problems you have with the Kings, right? Where it's like, we got one good goalie who's going well, and then the other guy is a bit of a crapshoot. And, like the Hurricanes they've 5 different netminders have played for the Hurricanes this season. So to be as good as they are right now and having to navigate that much kind of craziness in the crease, like I think that kind of speaks to this team and how good they are up front. And if they can get Freddie Anderson to stay healthy this whole postseason, can they finally? But again, can they do it, Seth? Do you think that this is the year that they can finally make a push to a Stanley Cup final, or is it just gonna be the same old Hurricanes?
I would feel way better about it if not for the Washington Capitals in the year that they're having. Because
for me, it's the Panthers. That team is I tell somebody to throw in the Panthers right now, and the way that, and yes, I know they're dealing with some injuries and stuff, but like everybody's supposed to be ready by the time the season's back, and that team is really good and really deep, and they play nasty, and yeah. But this East is so weird. Like, it's not like it does feel like you have the Panthers, you have the Caps, and then it kind of feels like everybody else is in a mushy middle.
Yeah, it does feel like there are a couple of teams that are rising to the top, and everybody else is struggling to get their heads above the watermark.
That's why us Western Conference guys with our superior teams, and yes.
Yeah, the absolute world beaters currently occupying wildcard 1, and just trying their hardest to
they are definitely the cat hanging on the string, just hanging their baby from.
It's the video at the track meet where you have the baton fumble between the Minnesota Wild, who are in front, and the Vancouver Canucks, who are trying to come up and grab it, and nobody gets it, and everybody just turns and looks, and they're like,
yeah, and the Flames just scoop it up. Yeah.
It's going to be a photo finish, but I do like the way that the Hurricanes are trending here. How will they do in the final 15 games of the season? Well, I guess we will. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll see. That's why they play the game, Seth. That is why they play the games.
You play to win the game, I was told.
Or to fumble the baton. So either way.
Well, anyway, that's what we got for you here for today's show. Appreciate everybody tuning in as you do each and every day of the week. Again, if you have not already, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. We've got new episodes for you every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.